And welcome, everybody, to another Mark Bishop show. We've got this week, of course, I don't know if you've remembered or not, but it's National Small Business Week. It's a big deal. Might be small business, but it is a big deal. May the 4th, which was yesterday, right through to the 10th, the salt of the earth. Small businesses make a big impact. So, I was fortunate enough to get Erron Stark. He's the General Manager, Vice President of Small Business Services at ADP. Welcome, Erron.
Hey, Mark, how are you today? Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. Hey, for more than 60 years now, the Small Business Administration has celebrated National Small Business Week. And this is to acknowledge the critical contributions of America's entrepreneurs and small business owners. Erron, you know, they may be small, but the numbers are huge, right?
They are. They are the backbone of our economy, Mark. 46% of our workforce, 61 million employees nationally.
That's unbelievable, isn't it, huh? Account for 99.9%. The businesses, 99.9% of U.S., according to the small business, they account for 46%. Leading industries for small businesses include professional and business services like financial activities and wholesale and retail trade, boasting 3.5 to over 7 million businesses within each sector. How do you stay on top of all of this? Tell me.
Well, we have a lot of really smart people here that focus on that as far as staying on top of the macro, economical trends. But what we're excited to talk about today is, how we're actually helping out the small business community continue to grow and thrive in today's economy.
Yeah, more so than ever, I would say. I mean, ADP serves more than, 900,000 small businesses across all industries. So you'd have a pretty good, unique view into the trends impacting small business owners today.
Yeah, we're closing in on that million client mark.
Right.
And, the trends that we're seeing today, Mark, are typically around technology, talent as always, and then compliance with the 170 plus different laws that have changed or have been added over the past year. So a lot going on within the small business world.
So what's top of mind then? I mean, I know you mentioned IT, but is that the one? Is that it? Is that the big mother, the big key, IT for small business owners right now? Technology
is definitely top of mind. And some of the buzzwords that you tend to hear are around AI and Gen AI. When you think about all the incredible content creation, can't go on a website these days or on social media without seeing what looks like Hollywood production quality that these small business owners are able to take advantage of. A perfect example is actually my 12-year-old daughter, who put together a presentation on all the reasons why we should get a dog, which we now have. That's the same type of tech that our small business community has access to. And it's exciting, but it's also around what other technologies can I take advantage of as a small business owner to enable growth is another conversation that we're having with a lot of small business owners today.
What defines a small business to you? Is it just one, person sitting at the kitchen table packing stuff or trying to make soap, or, does it go into dollars, or what really defines it in the stats?
Yeah, we define it by employee count, and a small business owner, as long as you have one employee, whether it's a contract employee or a W-2 employee, that makes up for a small business owner in our eyes. And when we think about the 900,000 that we serve, a lot of people tend to think that ADP has this, big footprint because over 75 years, we started with the large companies, but our average small business client has, roughly 7 to 9 employees. So that's the community that we focus on, and we've developed our tools and resources to help them to continue to grow and, to mitigate and stay on top of all those compliance factors that I mentioned before.
Right. 7 to 9. That's interesting. I didn't think it'd be that many, but then again, looking at stats on numbers today, I mean, is there a dollar amount at all does that come into the equation? Like a company, may turn over $500,000 or $1 million or $5 million a year?
So from what we've seen, I would assume that's probably more in the financial sector as far as how they define it based on revenue. But in our world, it's really based on employee growth and, how to help find those employees. So as I mentioned before on the talent topic, What we still see is a growing trend, even though the great resignation, thankfully is over, where so many employees were moving from company to company about 2, 3 years ago. But it's still not easy to go out there and find not just a person, but the right person. And then once I found that right person, how do I keep them? And then how do I develop them? We talked just a second ago about technology, and with all the new tools, we started to see that there might be certain tasks that a small business owner can now use technology in order to complete that task. And we've also noticed that the successful organizations are investing in their employees to cross-skill and upskill and provide critical thinking capabilities. So that way, as that task may change, I don't have to find new employees to do it. My existing workforce can accomplish those new tasks by investing and developing the associates that they have today.
So what you're saying is that if these small businesses and the small business owners, if they take an attitude on like, I will adapt to the changing business environment, they've got a much better chance of surviving, and add to that, having less sleepless nights, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a perfect example of this, Mark, is we had a client recently that they started to automate their back office, and they were spending a lot of time keying information from one application to another application to another application. They had one associate that was doing all this work of taking all the employees that were punching in and all the hours and earnings that went from one system and then plugging that into payroll, and then taking the information from payroll and having to key it into an accounting system. And that was their almost full-time job. And through some of the tools that we provide here at ADP, they now have one system of record to record all that information that through technology transfers that information from one system to another. And now that employee, she trained to help with a bid process to win new contracts. So just imagine you have this one resource that used to have X task that now they've been able to cross-train and upskill to do a different task that actually provides more value to the business.
Well, yeah, when you put it all that way, explains it. I mean, small business owners, they need to foster and develop talent, but you're right, and this keeping staff is a critical thing today as well. How can small business owners embrace the new technologies? We're talking AI, of course. What's the quickest way you've seen them to do this?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would say first piece of advice, and based on even the grit and wisdom contest that we have, we heard a lot of small business clients say something similar, which is this is a journey and don't do it alone. And what we see a lot of our small business clients take advantage of is partnering with companies like an ADP, but primarily the accountant community and consultants that can help guide them to which of these technologies is the right fit for their business. You can go on Google and start searching things, but that tends to not personalize things for the small business community. And having an advisor, an accountant that knows your business and understands, what you can implement within your organization as well, because you can invest in whatever technologies, but if you actually don't use it, then that's probably not going to benefit anybody. Those are some of the things that we've seen. And a perfect example is, we've had clients that because of the consultation from the accountant community, they're now taking advantage, Mark, of what the federal government put at their disposal, which is $20 billion of R&D tax money. But only a third of that, and this is actually money that's accessible to any business, whether it's a small business or a large business, and only a third of that is currently being taken advantage of today. So now you have an accountant that is aware for sure. So you have an accountant that's aware that it exists, and they work with a company like ADP that has the technology that not only can identify and qualify a client, but then actually help that client apply for those grants.
So there you go. I mean, all that money available, and their accountants should be supporting them and guiding them that way. What's the website address again for somebody to look this up, Erron?
If you were to go to adp.com/grit and wisdom, that's GRIT and wisdom, WISDOM, not only will you find information on the tax credits and the different tools and tech that we were talking about before, but also access to those 18,000 different comments, best practices, and tips that we receive from the small business community during our Grit and Wisdom campaign.
Wow, fantastic. So there you have it. Please do it. Follow that up. Erron Stark, everybody. Yesterday was the start, the 4th, but today being the beginning of the week, and it's Small Business Services Well and truly, General Manager, Vice President Erron Stark from ADP. Thank you, Erron. Have a good week.
You too, Mark. Thanks for having me. Take care.